Hi, I'm Moli Dave. Have you ever been in an argument where it seems like the person you're discussing it with just doesn't seem to get the point? Well, maybe the problem isn't that they're not getting the point and that they're actually avoiding it altogether because your point is just too difficult to refute, and the point that they're talking about is a little easier. Well, I hate to break it to you, but your opponent was committing a strawman fallacy. And I can guarantee that one time or the other, you have done so yourself, knowingly and unknowingly. And this is why I'm here to explain to you about the concept of the strawman fallacy, since not many people know what it actually is and how often it is used. I am a psychology major at the Rider University, and I always find it interesting to learn more about why people do what they do. And this is why I did some research on this fallacy. And through my research, I learned that being aware of the strawman fallacy is important in order to prevent misuse and deception. There are 3 points I'm going to discuss: understanding the concept in history, learning how to prevent, detect, and avoid, and finally, different ways it is used as a form of manipulation. Let's begin with our first point. The first point is properly understanding the concept and history of the strawman fallacy, because that is the only way you will really understand which factors contribute to it. What is a fallacy? This is the most basic but the most important question. Well, a fallacy is a misbelief created through misleading information and faulty reasoning in an argument. A fallacy is an illusion of the truth and logical reasoning, when in fact it's a form of deception and manipulation of out of context words and phrases. This is why it is very important to learn about and be more aware of the strawman fallacy so you can detect it and prevent using it yourself. In fact, Aristotle, who is considered the father of logic, believed that in order to be a person of good and true reasoning, it was essential to have knowledge of fallacies altogether. A strawman fallacy is an informal fallacy, which means that there's a fault and error in the reasoning. On its own, the reasoning can be true, but within the argument, it's not valid. For example, person A says that teenagers should be taught the importance of safe sex through contraception and the use of condoms. In response, person B says sex should not be portrayed as a negative thing to teenagers because it is a natural thing, and it would be impractical to believe that they will stay abstinent from it. Now, what person B here did was just change the topic altogether from it actually being about safe sex and becoming more about abstinence and fear and avoidance. Now let's talk about the second point, since we have talked about this main concept of how it is used. Many times, strawman fallacies are a product of ignorance. So understanding how it can be used and detected and prevented in real life scenarios is very valuable. Chris Jamie, a philosopher and author of philosophy, quoted, "Whenever we want to combat our enemies, first and foremost, we must start by understanding them rather than exaggerating their motives." What Chris Jamie was saying here was that it's important to understand what the person is actually saying, what the words mean, before jumping to conclusions out of excitement or hurry or just the need to win the argument. Because what ends up happening in this case is you miss the point altogether and end up making an exaggerated, oversimplified, and misrepresented conclusion. There are a few ways you can prevent committing a straw man fallacy in real life scenarios. According to Douglas Walton, an author of many such fallacies, said that the arguer's words are the most important proof needed to evaluate what is actually being conveyed. It is important to be attentive to the entire context of the words and phrases to avoid arguing through presumptions of your own. We have tendencies of picking up a few points and small points and making it the main point, when what you're doing is you're just missing out on what the arguer is actually trying to convey. And unfortunately, many of us do this without realizing it. Now, our last point is about manipulation and how we can be manipulated in arguments in order for the person committing the strawman fallacy to have the upper hand. There are two ways arguments are misrepresented. One is by intentionally shifting the focus on the more extreme side, and the second is an oversimplification and misrepresentation of the argument. These methods are very common and used mostly when the argument in hand is too difficult to refute and a misrepresentation of it is actually easier to prove. Now, let me give you an example. Person A says that studies have shown that bilingual children have a heightened cognitive ability. In response, person B says, I can't believe that you think that monolingual children will not succeed in life. As you can see, this was an oversimplification of what person A was actually trying to say, which was simply that bilingual children have tendencies of higher cognitive abilities because of their ability to speak two languages. But he never said that if you don't know two languages and if you're not bilingual, you will not have heightened cognitive abilities and therefore not succeed in life. That was never mentioned in the argument at all. It's important in all this to remember that usually when a strawman fallacy is used, it's to win. And unfortunately, that's the truth. And this is very, very oftenly used in politics and advertisements. For example, Donald Trump in the 2016 elections used the fear of illegal immigration that people already had to kind of get an upper hand in the elections. And what he did was he twisted the words of Hillary Clinton in a statement that she had made and made it seem like she wanted to allow illegal immigrants to enter the borders without any proper procedures, which was not the case at all, and that was not what she had said. And as far as advertisements are concerned, there is manipulation throughout because they want you to believe what they want to convey and the best way for you to buy their product and believe in their product, which is why it's important that you are just aware of this and you do some research on your own before believing them completely and blindly and being manipulated yourself. I hope the understanding of the concept and history of the strawman fallacy, learning how to detect, prevent, and avoid, and the different platforms and ways it's used in will help you stay aware of it and prevent misuse yourself and deception by others. It's not always going to be easy, but being aware of what it represents and how it affects the authenticity of a situation and an argument is undoubtedly a helpful tool. Thank you for listening.